want to begin by asking you what sport physiotherapy is.
I have played tennis professionally and I did undergo all sorts of these injuries and I did face the challenges which every athlete does face through.
So, who would need a sports physiotherapist? Is that something that is relevant only for elite athletes?
So I do end up seeing kids from right from the age of like 6 to 8 year old when they're starting the sport.
What are the kind of frequent injuries you see in young athletes? And are there specific sports where certain injuries are more common?
They love playing like football, basketball. They have most commonly strain injuries seen either in ankle twists, knee injuries, calf injuries, or even like neck and head injuries.
I was to ask about overtraining.
It should not be a push training because you have an evening academy to go, so go and play for 2 hours. So that should not happen. Like, it's okay for the body to rest down an extra day.
What are the most important factors that coaches and athletes should focus on to prevent injury?
We all feel that they should not do strength training, but it is important for that age category also to do some form of strength training so that they are not developing these injuries.
The common muscle imbalances that you see in young athletes.
Most commonly seen in younger kids is the middle cross syndrome. So those imbalances happen because of the lack of movement. Kids, nowadays time is more, so you end up sitting a lot more. Sometimes you're sitting and relaxing on a sofa. So those muscle imbalances happen, and that can actually cause injuries later in your life.
I want to touch upon puberty as a factor.
In boys, you see a lot of like muscle mass or a height gain. There is an increase in strength and coordination, but there is a temporary decline in your balance and your skills of the body to control that. So that is the time when you can actually injure. Girls' changes are more like hormonal changes. Girls are more likely to tear their ACL, this ligament, as compared to boys. So they need to be careful of that.
Welcome to Raising an Athlete, a podcast for aspiring athletes and their parents. Our guest on today's show is Paridhi Oja, a former national level tennis player and now a sports physiotherapist. Specializing in injury prevention and rehab, her work involves comprehensive screening and assessment tailored to specific demands of each sport. Her approach helps young athletes identify risks early, recover effectively, and stay at their peak. In today's episode, we will speak about the role that sports physiotherapy plays in the overall performance of an athlete with a special focus on injury prevention. Let's dive in. Paridhi, welcome to Raising an Athlete.
Hey, thank you so much for inviting me, Amita.
So I think this is a session that I personally have been looking forward to a lot because as a parent of a young athlete, I think we know very less about injury prevention, very less about the role that sports physiotherapy plays because it's something that kicks in once you become an elite athlete, but there isn't so much accessible information of the role that it plays for young athletes. I want to begin by asking you what sport physiotherapy is.
So, see, I got into the field because I was myself an athlete. I have played tennis professionally and I did undergo all sorts of these injuries and I did face the challenges which every athlete does face through. I feel that sports physiotherapy was a major component in terms of guiding any athlete to know that how can they actually prevent injuries, how can they enhance their performance, how can they actually work towards getting lesser injuries in terms of like knowing the right technical and technique errors, some kind of biomechanical errors which do happen in every sport. So getting to know about that and also understanding about that what can actually help me to prevent injuries and enhance my performance as well. So that's how sports physiotherapy works around for any athlete.
And one of the things I want to ask is, like in common perception, sports physiotherapy in the past probably was associated with rehab. You got injured and then you would go for some kind of a treatment. How has the science and its role in the life of an athlete evolved over years?
So I feel when about 20 years back when I was also playing, that time if you get injured, the only solution was that okay, when you have an injury, you go to a ortho or a sports medicine doctor and they will say that okay, stop playing the sport or don't do that activity for a couple of days. And sports physiotherapy was not so much into play as at that time. So understanding an athlete that okay, I want to play a sport and I want to continue doing what I love to do, it was quite difficult in those times. Now things have changed in terms of that the athlete would directly not go to a ortho but prefer to go to a physiotherapist who would understand and guide them in terms of that you don't need to leave the sport completely. You can modify and you can work around that injury also. For example, if you have shoulder injury, you can still do some lower body workouts. You can still continue to be in touch with the sport. As compared to earlier times, it was like, okay, just leave the sport, do nothing. And that also takes a mental toll as well. So that used to be a major catch during those times. But now things have changed and parents are also more aware. And I feel that it's also to do with understanding their own body type. It's very important. The sports physiotherapist should help them to understand it. Okay, this is my challenge, and how and why was the root cause behind that injury, what happened, to make the person understand so that they know that they can prevent that from further damage and have lesser chances of getting injured. Earlier times, only when you are in pain, then only you would go and seek a doctor or a physiotherapist. Now, as a preventative measure, also sports physiotherapy has come in play.
Right.
So that's the major change which has happened.
So, who would need a sports physiotherapist? Is that something that is relevant only for elite athletes, or are you seeing younger athletes also reaching out to you? If you could share a little about that.
Yeah, earlier times it used to be that only when some athlete is professionally into a sport and they are playing tournaments and they are in nationals or, playing at a certain level, then only they would seek a therapist. But now it has changed in terms of that younger athletes also are addressing their issues and they feel that, okay, I am not able to do a certain thing. So if a therapist can help them to understand that, okay, what is the challenge that they are facing and how they can actually enhance their performance. So I do end up seeing kids from the age of 6 to 8 year old when they're starting the sport, and at that point in time their bones are still developing, the body is still growing, so they still need that sort of a therapy to understand that, okay, this is the body type that they have and they need to work towards it so that they don't get injured.
And what is the kind of intervention? Because in popular context, so one would think of the Indian cricketing team, and they have the sports physiotherapist, or a major sports team who would be there with them through the year at every point of time. But when you're a young athlete and you're not still affiliated with a federation or an institution, like how much intervention is required? Is it an ongoing thing, or are there a set of exercises that are shared?
So in terms of that, I would say that initially what happens, if at all there's an injury, then an athlete has visited me and I would tell them that, okay, this is how that injury has happened, and we would figure out what are the challenges that they're facing. So first we work on that injury management. Once that injury has recovered and it's healed completely, from that stage we go on to an injury prevention stage, wherein depending on the severity of the injury, I might want to see them once in a week or once in 10 days to first prevent that. And then the preventative measure in terms of not having that recurrence of the injury and preventing and also enhancing the performance, that is the time when we do a screening. That evaluation helps us to identify that what was the factor which caused this, and from there we go to the next stage where we are working on the prevention part, which could be when you are in season, when you're training in the peak, then you might need to come and see me maybe once in 3 weeks or once in 2 weeks depending on the training load, or otherwise as a preventative measure once a month as a release session for a sports massage works. So that's the kind of frequency which might vary from athlete to athlete depending on the training load or the intensity that they are undergoing.
Right. So I think we'll understand more of this in the segment where we talk about injury prevention. But since our show is focused on young athletes and parents, I did want to ask you some questions around screening and assessment. I mean, we had a conversation about this, and which I found very interesting, that mostly parents struggle to figure out which sport to take up for their children, and mostly it's either some interest-based, what's available in your neighborhood. Can there be a scientific way or assessment that can help parents decide which sport their child is better suited to?
So with respect to a particular assessment at that age, is difficult to pinpoint, because there can be changes in the body, like while when the development is happening. So it could be that initially the person likes to play a certain kind of sport, and then gradually their interest goes out of that, they lose that interest, and then they want to go into something else. So there can be assessments around to understand that, okay, what kind of sport are better suited in terms of flexibility of the person, their mobility, their stability, or even their coordination and focus. Like, it's very important for the athlete, like the young kid, to first love the sport. It should not be a forced sport that, okay, I don't enjoy this, but then I still am forced to play a sport. So first and foremost is the interest development. So they should actually allow the kid to play around all the sports and understand an initial stage where there's something called as the long-term athlete development, where we understand that initial stages from a younger age of 5 to 6 year old. From that age to about 12, 13, they should try and play a team sport to understand and also develop a discipline. And from that age, after the 12 to 13 year old, then they can get into an individual sport where they have that interest towards a particular type of sport, and they can pursue that. Because then by that age, the athlete also knows that, okay, this is my expert area, or this is something which I love to do. So I think that is how the assessment should happen, that let them explore all the areas and then gradually build that interest towards what they love to do.
So this is a bit of a paradox that I find when I read about long-term athlete development. This is what I find, that early specialization is not something that is encouraged, and said that, when in the early age, when the child is, let's say, between 5 to 8, their muscles are still developing. So they should expose themselves to a whole range of sports, which allows for, the different muscle groups to also, grow and thrive. But at the same time, in the world of sports, like, the profile of the athlete is becoming younger and younger. The kids are, I'm sharing from my experience that children are starting fairly early, at age 6, 8, 7. They're already into a particular sport. They may be playing other sports, but they've already decided that this is a primary sport that they're going to be pursuing. So what is your view in that context about early specialization, keeping the theory of what long-term athlete development says versus the expectations of the sporting world out there?
So, see, there are stages of long term athlete development, and they do usually start from the age of 0 onwards in terms of a sport life. Like, not from the age, but a sport life. So, what they usually start off as a stage 1 is an active start, where any athlete is doing any sport for the initial stages of about 4 to 6 years. That's the active start that they have. And then where they develop that interest, that is when they have to work on the fundamentals. So fundamentally they need to work upon at the age of, like, from 6 to 8. That is the age, the sport age. That is the time when they are still developing, and they are developing the fundamentals of that sport to understand. And then after that, they actually learn how to progress in that sport, or what the stage is named as is the learn to shoot. That how they would actually go into their peak of their career, that going into the tournaments, developing that confidence, having that to say that, okay, I am now confident enough to go and play a sport in a tournament stage competitively. And that is when they are training, and then they train to compete when they are in the peak of their career. So when they are in the peak of the career, that is the age of 4 to 10 years into the sport. That is when we say that, okay, yes, the person has, they turn from an amateur to a pro in a golf state. So that is something which you need that many years to develop that sort of a sense of competitiveness, and to understand and have a learning of that, okay, it's not just that, okay, because I love to play the sport, so I'll just go and play tournaments straight away. You have to develop that gradual stage by stage, so that you understand and you respect the sport, and you respect your own body also. So that is how you go to the next stage, where you train to compete, and then you actually go from that stage to excelling into your sport.
Okay. So you're saying it's not aligned to the biological age; it is aligned to the LTAD
To the
to
sport
the
age.
sport age. Okay, and that
Yes,
could
yeah,
be for a young athlete also. So someone who started at 6 or 8
correct.
years with specializing
Yes,
in that particular sport, it still works. Okay,
yes,
okay.
yeah.
So I think we'll jump now directly into the segment about injury prevention, and I want to specifically ask you about what are the kind of frequent injuries you see in young athletes, and are there specific sports which are like where certain injuries are more common?
So, see, what happens mostly because of the kind of sports that younger athletes are into, they love playing like football, basketball. So, those are most common sports that we end up seeing in terms of team sports. And they do develop these injuries which are more towards overtraining or overuse injuries because at that point in time, the recovery is very quick. So, you don't realize that, okay, my body still needs some form of recovery or my body still needs some form of, light sort of a session once a week or twice a week so that I'm not overtraining. So I end up seeing a lot more in terms of strains and contusion injuries in them because they, accidentally just hit themselves sometimes, or they are playing around and they do certain, tackles in a way. So they have most commonly strain injuries, which are most commonly seen either in ankle twists, knee injuries, calf injuries, or even like neck and head injuries sometimes when they, fall. So those are the most common kind of injuries that I end up seeing in younger athletes. Mostly knee and shoulder are seen, but they do end up getting some strains here and there because of the certain kind of sport that they're
Right.
in.
And are there any common mistakes that young athletes make or their parents who are helping them in their training make that increase the risk of injury?
So it does play a role in terms of that they don't understand that it is not just about when there is a condition or there's a problem, then only they go and see a doctor. They need to still get the athlete or the kid to basically undergo a regular screening because we don't really pay attention to that. Like, it's like only when I feel something, then I would get my blood test done. So, but you should regularly do certain kind of, a medical screening so that you know that, okay, this is the kind of injuries that probably might happen in my kid. Understand that. So that's something which you should be taking care. And also not overtraining, because sometimes what happens, you compare your kid with the other kid and you're like, okay, he's playing 3 hours, so my kid also should play 3 hours. But then you also have to understand that probably the requirement of each individual is very different. So you should not compare your kid with any other kid and be like, okay, he's playing 3 hours, so my kid should also play 3 hours. That's not right. So those are the most common mistakes that people do end up making in their regular daily routine.
So, if I was to ask about overtraining, for example, how does an athlete figure out, because we're specifically talking about young athletes who may not have access to a lot of infrastructure around them, of experts, how do they figure out what's the optimal training? Who should be their go-to person defining? Because most of them are working with a coach, but that's really just the infrastructure that they have at hand.
So, see, initially the parent should be taking care because they see the athlete all the time. They are the ones who are taking care of their sleep, their nutrition, their everyday training routine, their school routines. So, parent should be the first person to know and to identify that, okay, if there is any problem that you see, you should stop your kid that, okay, you are overtraining, just calm down. Or it should be vice versa also, that the kid should address or tell everything to the parent that, okay, I feel that today I'm not ready to go and play. So it should not be a push training because you have an evening academy to go, so go and play for 2 hours. So that should not happen. Like, it's okay for the body to rest down an extra day and not to push the child because you have an academy in the evening.
Right.
And overtraining wise, it's mostly that you're pushing your body too hard without having that enough rest, which can lead up to these injuries which most commonly happen, like any sort of strain or a tendinitis or any injury. Those conditions happen because you've not taken care of in terms of rest and recovery. Also, the most common mistake which I end up seeing is not having enough warm up or cool down, because the kid is running late or is coming from school directly to the academy, or they're not understanding that, okay, warm up is okay to miss out. they are going to get into the sport and it's okay. And because they do not end up feeling that tiredness, so they just feel that okay, in initial stages it's okay to skip the warm-ups. So that's not right. So coaches have to make sure that even if the kid is running late or whatever it is happening, they need to make sure that they're doing enough warm-up and coach up.
You mentioned that the parents should look out for any particular, if they see a problem, what are the signs that a parent should look out for, which may point to, overtraining or some issue with, the training of the young athlete?
So overtraining wise, you will see that the kid is feeling lethargic, or they are having a different kind of a sleep pattern, or they are having any form of sign where you feel that there's a prolonged time for them to recover, or the fatigueness is there, or there is a poor quality in terms of sleep wise, even like less energy, or they're feeling very moody sometimes. So that's also something which you do end up noticing in kids, or they're not feeling that happy or excited to go for their training. So those are some signs where you see that okay, there's sort of a lack of interest towards that sport, or they're not feeling up to it. So just look out for these signs, which will help to know that okay, lifestyle changes, these signs can help a parent to identify.
Right. Now specifically speaking about injury prevention, now in past in the sport, so many promising athletes would just, like you mentioned, be required to just step away from the sport because they would have injured themselves. With the know-how that exists today, like athletes can actually have a long and thriving career if they keep some things in mind. What are the most important factors that coaches and athletes should focus on to prevent injuries in young athletes, especially those who are, let's say, in the age of 5 to 15 years?
So initially in that specific age group, what ends up happening, we all feel as parents or as coaches that they should not do strength training, the height might get affected, or they don't need to lift weights, or they don't need to do certain things in terms of training wise. But it is important for that age category also to do some form of strength training so that they are not developing these injuries. That's first thing, because that's something which we sometimes just feel that okay, no, the kid is too young, so they should not lift weights, or they should not do certain things, which is quite a myth these days, that okay, at what age should my kid start taking protein powders, what age should they do the strength training. So I think they need to develop a fitness plan which includes some form of cardio, some form of strength training, and especially working on the flexibility so that there is a lesser chance of getting injured. That's first thing. Secondly, I would want to mention that they should exercise every alternate day in terms of cross training also. That alternate exercises for different muscle groups, not just specific to the sport that they are trying to focus on. It should not be that okay, this is the sport my kid is going to play, so they should only target to work on those muscles. They should also look at the other muscles which are not being targeted. So try to work on that as well. Very important thing of cool down and warm-ups, which is very, very crucial. So they need to take care of that. And hydrating enough. Sometimes you just feel that okay, it's not too hot and it's okay, I'm not sweating out too much, so it's okay for me to not have that much water. But hydration plays a very, very important role. So hydration and nutrition has to be in check. Another important thing is to have a right kind of clothing and gears, like the type of equipment which the athlete needs so that they don't get injured. So that is something which helps to prevent any sort of injuries, like in different sports. That is there. Also understanding the right kind of techniques to play that particular sport. That it's not just that standing on the court and like hitting the ball, for example, for tennis. So it's important to understand the sport's techniques and technical errors so that you are minimizing your injuries in that. Another thing, whenever you feel that there is a tiredness, please rest. Listen to your body the most. Like that's very, very crucial, because otherwise you end up just overtraining and you don't realize it, and it does harm your body later. So rest whenever needed. And the signs which I said earlier that to look out for, so take care of those things, because it's not that okay, my kid is to a certain extent they're active, so it's okay to let them do what they're doing. especially in that age, because you don't realize that what is the time when the kid is actually tired and they want to sleep. So sleep is very, very crucial. You need to take care of that.
Got it.
So these
Okay,
are the
okay,
ones.
so this is very helpful. I think I really like the point that you made about strength training and cardio and the myths around that, because from what I've heard, I've also understood that for young athletes, what's said is that if they are playing different sports, so the variety of sports kind of takes care of their muscle development, etc., and having very regimental routines of cardio and strength training kicks in later. If I was to ask you at what age, and also the kind of trainings that they could be doing, what age could a young athlete hit the gym, and or apart from gym, what are the other kind of routines that they could be doing, or do for young athletes sports are enough if you're playing across different sports?
So, strength training is a term when we always associate that with the gym. And that's something which, that came to your sentence also. That, okay, when should they start? So, strength training is not just about the gym, but it is also about just using your body weight as a strength training. Right? So, actually, gym can start as early as the age of like 7 or 8 also, which is okay to start for the kids, but that does not mean that I'm lifting 50 kgs of a dumbbell and doing certain things. So that's something which we have a myth about, that okay, strength training means hitting a gym and doing the workouts. It's not like that. Strength training actually can help the kids to improve their body's awareness first. So body weight can also be used as a strength training. So body's awareness, they develop a sense of balance and control, the stability which is needed. So strength training can be done at the gym or at home using various kinds of equipments, not just the weights, but also the body weight can be used in that, and it can help to actually reduce the risk of injuries and improve the performance. So that is something which is very, very crucial. They can go and do the workouts at the gym, but you just need to be smart enough about working towards the areas where you need the muscle to activate. There are two types of muscles in our body, which is like fast twitch fibers and slow twitch fibers. So till a certain age, our fast twitch fibers are working more because we are more active. Like as a kid would like hop around, move around, do things very quickly, as compared to at a certain age of like 30s, you might not want to hop around so much. So those are the kind of muscles which are working. Now, in order to make sure that you're doing strength training, you can use different kind of equipments at the gym or at home to do that activity. Not necessarily always just lifting weights is considered as strength training.
Tell us, Paridhi, also about the common muscle imbalances that you see in young athletes, and how can they be corrected to avoid long-term issues?
So, see, muscle imbalances, like I mentioned, happens because of certain kind of sports that you're playing, and that is why I mentioned that you need to do some form of cross training, so that if you are using certain kind of muscles required in that particular sport that you are primarily doing, you need to work upon the other chain of muscles also. Most commonly seen in younger kids is mostly the middle cross syndrome, which basically means that they have a certain thing called as, there are imbalances in the muscles which in the younger age are developing. But so we have a primary curve and a secondary curve in our spine. So the primary curve is when you start to use your neck and your lower back. The secondary curves are which are developed gradually later in your life, which are the middle back and the lower trunk area muscles. So those imbalances happen because of the lack of movement, or I would say the trunk strength which is not there. And that is why, and the kids nowadays, because of the entire screening in terms of like screen time is more, so you end up sitting a lot more. And sitting means that you will sometimes sit in a slouchy manner, sometimes you're sitting and relaxing on a sofa, you're doing certain activities which are not really good for your body. So those muscle imbalances happen, and that can actually cause injuries later in your life. So you need to make sure that your body is meant to move. So move more and more, and these muscle imbalances can cause major injuries later in your life. So just take care of those and do cross training. That will really help.
Right.
That is a better thing to
That's
work
an
upon.
interesting point you make about the need for movement for everyone. It's not just about people who are looking at pursuing, becoming an athlete professionally, but it's also the need to move just for your general well-being and avoiding injuries. I'm stepping away a little bit from the young athlete segment, and I want to ask, because so many people these days are interested in marathons, and so many people who may not have running experience in the past are now, really getting on the bandwagon. What are some tips that you would share with someone who's starting on their first marathon, does not have an experience so much of running? What are the risks that they should look out for, and how can they avoid injuries?
So, like you said, the sport of running has become a big thing now because it's one easy access, because you just need like a pair of shoes and you feel that, okay, I can just go out and run. But it is important first to understand your body, that have I actually played a sport in my life or not. If at all you haven't played and you are a new beginner to runner, like running as a sport, then you need to start really slow. Like work on the initial basic mechanics of walk, jog as a pattern, and not completely in terms of that, okay, because this person is running, he's at a certain age of 45-year-old, so maybe I can also do this. Start slow, don't compare yourself with anyone, because you don't know what level of intensity or what kind of sport they have done in their life. So the first and foremost thing is just to do a run walk method, which works the best to understand that how much can my body take. Second step is to actually be consistent. Try, no, I see a lot of people who come to me who are like, okay, this marathon is happening, so I want to prepare myself, and then they just start like 1 month before the date of the event, and that's about it, and then the whole year they're like not doing anything. So be consistent with that, not just when you have the event happening, that is the time you focus on that. Also, set a goal. Don't try to and set like mini goals, not like straight away that, okay, I've never ran in my life and I want to achieve everything in 1 year. That today I want to do a 5K, and then I want to do a 10 kilometer, and then I want to do a half marathon, and then by next year I want to do like marathons and then ultra marathons. Like set mini goals, go gradual. Don't just have unrealistic plans that, okay, I have never ran in my life, this I have done my first 10 kilometer, so I think I can run a marathon. No, it should not be like that. Go very slow. Also, another thing which comes in play is the warm up and cool down, because especially at the age when you're starting late in your life, that's the time when you don't realize your body needs more warm up and cool down, because the whole day you are sitting in offices, you have a sedentary lifestyle, and then 1 hour of that running is not enough or is not justifying to what you can actually do the whole day. So you need to make sure that you're moving around more through the day and having an enough warm up and cool down. So that's very, very important. And probably finding or having a running club around also helps to motivate each other. So that's something like, try to find a running partner or maybe a running club which helps you to, maybe those people are into it for a couple of months and years, so they can help you and guide you a certain way. Don't just start by yourself and then get injured. So those are certain things which I would say that are important
Okay.
for the person who's beginner to
And
runner.
someone who's planning, to run for such a marathon, so a running coach is helpful. And would it be helpful to, visit a sports physiotherapist? Can they help them in planning and guiding and creating these goals based on their body profile?
Yes, absolutely. Like, first and foremost is to get yourself assessed so that you know that in case if there's any body area where I need to work upon, so then I know I'm better prepared for it. So that's definitely something which I would advise people to go and visit a sports physiotherapist to understand that how is my body type right now. It could be that you might have ran, in your school times, and then there are a couple of years of gap, maybe about 20 years of gap, and then you want to restart again, but the body is still not the same. So you need to find out that how is my body type right now, understand, do the screening, and then go ahead with any of these activities.
Got it. Okay, so coming back again on the young athletes, I want to touch upon puberty as a factor that plays the change that it brings in an athlete's body. What are the specific changes during adolescence that can make young athletes more prone to injuries, or when they're having growth spurts? Have you seen such instances during your practice?
Yes. So what happens, like say there are positive and negative effects on the body, especially during the puberty time. There are like 2 to 3 positive changes which happen, which is basically like in boys you see a lot of like muscle mass or a height gain. They have a rapid performance improvements in that particular time. They also increase their strength. They have a better coordination. So those are the positives that we actually see during the puberty time. But there are negative things also which happen because of the puberty. It actually causes a decline in your balance or body control. So there is an increase in strength and coordination, but there is a kind of a temporary decline in your balance and your skills of the body to control that. So that is the time when you can actually injure. There are times when you don't realize it, but your body needs more rest. So those changes are happening at that time, and that is when the growth spurts as a injury also comes in play. That when the body is developing, there will be some aches and pains in the body which are not related to that particular kind of activity that you have done, but it has just happened because of the puberty changes that are happening. So like I'm saying, dividing into a positive and a negative effect that happens. Positive changes that you do end up seeing, but there are these temporary declines in certain areas of your body where you see that. And there is a more stress on your tendons and ligaments at that time. So there is more chance of that, okay, you might have done an activity which is a lesser intensity wise, but that still caused a strain in the body. Right? So those are the kind of changes that happen. Also, because of a sudden change in the height or weight, that can also probably sometimes be an advantage to a certain sports, but certain times it is more difficult in terms of playing a certain sport. So those are the areas where you need to work upon that. Okay, you need to take it easy and slow.
And I think you mentioned for boys, but are there specific considerations for girls versus boys during puberty when it comes to injury prevention? And how should their training be adjusted accordingly?
So, see, girls' changes are more like hormonal changes. So, they are more prone in terms of the estrogen levels, which are fluctuating during the puberty times, which can affect, like I mentioned, the flexibility and the strength changes in a girl's body also. And that can actually also lead up to more ACL injuries. There's something called as a ACL ligament in the knee. So that is called as the anterior cruciate ligament. Girls are more likely to tear their ACL, this ligament, as compared to boys. So they need to be careful of that. There's also something called as the relative energy deficient, which is the REDS theory, which every parent, as a even if you have a daughter or not, but you need to read that helps you to know that what is the energy deficiency that works upon 3 areas. One is the sleep, one is your change in terms of food habits also. So they actually have mentioned in detail that what are the changes in the body that happen.
Okay.
So that's something which is crucial for girls to know.
And what are the steps that parents or coaches can take? Like, so a kid is going to be hitting puberty or is in adolescence. What could they be doing to prevent injuries and, adjusting their training routines? Some things that could be helpful.
So, like, I would divide this into like few points. One is eating habits, because it's very, very important while the puberty changes are happening to provide your body with the right kind of nutrient. So there is a sort of a taste bud during that time where you're like, okay, I want to eat out or eat like packet foods and stuff, but try to avoid that and replace it with healthy meals. So parents can try to provide some form of modification in their diets, but eating healthy is very, very important at that age. Exercising regularly is very important. It is not that because I have hit my puberty and it's like affecting, I should stop working out or I should stop my physical activities. You should continue doing that. Another important point is to sleep well, getting enough rest so that your body is recovering, and the fatigueness which sets in during the puberty time, that is not coming in play. Also practicing, I would say, open discussions with, like, parent and child, that okay, this is what I'm feeling. Try to talk to your kid and tell them that okay, this is how your body is changing, because sometimes it's a taboo. So it's important for the parent to gel with the kid, and the kids also to feel that comfort. It should not be that okay, I don't know what is happening in my body and whom do I discuss with, or maybe sometimes they're not so friendly with their friends also to ask a certain kind of questions. So it is important that the parents come in play and have an open discussion and honest discussions with their kids to understand that okay, this is what your body's undergoing, it's okay, we'll modify a certain activities and that should help, and be patient with them. Sometimes they will have mood swings, they'll have some tantrums, and as a kid growing at that time, it happens. So it's very important to make that sort of a reassurance with them, so that they are feeling that this is something which is okay, this is my body undergoing something, and my parent is understanding.
Right. No, I think these are all very, very useful points. I want to ask Paridhi, I was recently watching this documentary on Netflix on Roger Federer, the 12 final days, which kind of document his last days in tennis. And there's one part that I found very interesting where he says that I never expected injuries, because when I started off as an athlete, I told myself, okay, I'm not going to go for the grueling tournament schedule. I'm going to optimize it. I'm not going to overtrain. Like, all principles were in place, and yet I am amazed that I'm down with probably, I think, the third surgery or something. Now, these are like elite athletes who have access to all signs possible of avoiding injury, and kind of yet it happens. So what are your thoughts on that? That is it still possible to prevent injuries, not have surgeries? I mean, again, in the context of golf, we've seen Tiger Woods has gone through so many surgeries, but at the same time, there is a Phil Mickelson who, even in his 50s, is surgery free. So, is there something that what factors come into play?
See, I would say every athlete has a shelf life. Now, it could be also depending on the type of sport that you're playing. Tennis is a sport which requires everything, like your strength, your stamina, your focus, your agility, everything, as compared to a sport which is more, maybe considering chess. Like, that does not require so much of a strength or agility, but it requires so much of your mental resilience, or just the focus to study the other opponent's game. So these two sports you cannot really compare like that, because every sport and every athlete has a shelf life. Now, that shelf life depends on many factors. It could be just how you have used your body, how is your gene type, because that is also very, very crucial. Like, Indian body type is very different than that Swiss body type. Whatever he could do at the age of 40, maybe the Indian athlete might not be able to do that, even if you have the same kind of infrastructure, same kind of facilities, but your body is still not going to be the same. So that is something which you need to work upon, and there will be a shelf life. So there are sports where you can prevent injuries, but it cannot be like a zeroed, because you need to still play a certain number of tournaments in a year to be able to maintain your ranking, as compared to that okay, you only have like 5 tournaments in a year and you just go and play those and that's about it. Tennis is something which is like round the year, around the world tournaments happening. Like, I have played 38 tournaments in a year, which was the peak of my career, where I overtrained myself. So that is something which required me at that point in time, because I wanted to get my ranking up, as compared to someone just playing like 20 tournaments in a year or 10 tournaments in a year and just focusing on that, okay, these are the 10 which I want to target and I want to work on that. So that is something which I would say every athlete has a shelf life, but they need to respect their body first. And it can happen to every athlete.
Right. Okay, so I think you've shared some very interesting, learnings for us. Just as closing remarks, if I was to ask you, given your experience as an athlete yourself, as a tennis player, and now as a sports physiotherapist, if there was one piece of advice that you had to give to young athletes to take care of their bodies and avoid injuries, what would that one piece of advice be?
I would say the first thing, that listen to your body. because that is something which stays with you all the time. So just first be patient and listen to yourself. You need to know that what is my body going to undergo. You need to understand, you need to know the details of that. Okay, this is how my sport is going to look like. You need to know and foresee that okay, these are the next 5 years goal that I have to work upon. So go very gradual, listen to your body, be patient, be consistent with your training, and all the time, like, just make sure that you are eating well, you're sleeping well, and having a good fitness time, and have some downtime also. Like, it should not be that throughout the year parents are also like grueling in their life, and then they're like, okay, go play this tournament, do this tournament, go and play in the evening. So like, don't do that. Have some downtime so that at least you are able to get back to the sport in a very fresh, positive environment, as compared to being completely like drained out and like, okay, every day I have to do the same thing. So you need to really love the sport, you need to love your body first. So you need to understand that. And it is important for the parent also to encourage the child and praise the child, so that it's not that even if they've lost one tournament, it's okay, it's not the end of the world. You need to still make sure that they are praising them, or they are setting a good example for them, that okay, that parent is also scolding them, so I should also scold. No, it's okay. Like, it's a very competitive world out there, but it's important to make sure that the kid is in a very good, healthy environment, as compared to being in the state where you're like, I need to do this, I need to do that. Don't rush, it's okay, be patient.
Lovely.
So that's
Lovely. Thank you so much for sharing, Pariti, all your insights. And I think your final words are very, very useful, especially for parents, because like you said, it's highly competitive out there. It's very easy to get influenced by what you see outside. But like you said, you got to listen to your own inside rhythms of your own body and rhythms of your own heart. So thanks so much for sharing, and thanks for making time for raising an athlete.
Thank you so much for inviting me.